Hello and welcome to Right Sports Talk. My name is Zach. We've made it through 8 weeks of the NFL season, so we're at roughly the halfway point in the season. For my picks in Week 8, I wound up going 11-5, giving me an overall record of 74 and 49. And my 11-5 from this past week was not quite as good as I believe the week before, but it's definitely better than some of the other weeks I've had picking. So consider that, a win for me for being able to get double-digit games right. So let's get into this week's picks. So starting off, Thursday Night Football, you have the Houston Texans, who are 2-6, taking on the New York Jets, the Houston Texans, who are 6-2, taking on the New York Jets, who are 2-6. The Texans, coming off of a victory over the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. The New York Jets, coming off of a loss to the New England Patriots. The Texans in this game will be without two of their top three wide receivers. Obviously, still without Nico Collins, who went out with a hamstring injury a few weeks ago. And this past Sunday, they lost Stefon Diggs, who is going to be out for the season with a knee injury. So, despite not having their two of their top three receivers, I do think the Texans get the win here. The main reason is because I think they're going to be able to run the ball very well against this Jets run defense, which has not been performing well at all this season. And I think defensively, the Texans should be able to get after Aaron Rodgers and pressure him and hurry him and kind of hit him and kind of rattle him a little bit. Because despite the Jets trading for Davante Adams a couple weeks ago, bringing in a wide receiver doesn't help your offensive line, which is still their biggest issue on offense. So I do think the Texans get the win here because I think they're going to have a very good run game, and I think defensively they're going to be able to get pressures and hurry Aaron Rodgers and maybe make him make some mistakes. Moving on to Sunday, you have the Dallas Cowboys, who are 3-4, taking on the Atlanta Falcons, who are 5-3. The Cowboys coming off of a loss to the San Francisco 49ers, and the Atlanta Falcons coming off of a victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Cowboys have a little bit of a downward skid for most of this season, and the Falcons are coming off of a much-needed divisional victory to sweep the Buccaneers and take the lead in their division. My pick for this game is going to be the Falcons. I think that offensively, they just have enough offensive firepower to outperform the Cowboys. The Cowboys should hopefully get Micah Parsons back for this game, and that should help their defense, as he's a very good pass rusher and very good all-around defensive player. But I don't think the Cowboys can keep up with this Falcons offense, because the Cowboys still don't have very much of a run game. They activated Dalvin Cook to their active roster against San Francisco. So their two running backs were Ezekiel Elliott and Dalvin Cook. And still outside of CeeDee Lamb, they don't really have a good receiving option that they can go to. They don't really have somebody that's shown the consistency to be kind of the other guy to go to if CeeDee Lamb is covered or Dak can't get the ball to CeeDee Lamb. So I do think the Falcons get the win here, and I think they're going to be able to do a good job of minimizing CeeDee Lamb in this game and making Dak Prescott try to find somebody else to go to. And I think offensively they're going to be able to outperform what the Cowboys can do. Next up, you have the Miami Dolphins, who are 2-5, taking on the Buffalo Bills, who are 6-2. Miami is coming off of a loss to the to the Arizona Cardinals, and the Buffalo Bills are coming off of a victory over the Seattle Seahawks. The Dolphins this past week did get Tua back from his concussion. Their offense performed very well with Tua back. Their biggest concern in that game was really their defense. who, allowed the Cardinals to come back after being down 20-10, and the Cardinals wound up winning that game 28-27 off the last second field goal. And the Buffalo Bills, their offense continues to play well. Their defense looks good. Keon Coleman looks to be more comfortable in this offense. And James Cook looks to be performing very well coming off of his foot injury from a few weeks ago. So I am going to pick the Bills to get the win here. I just think, even with Tua in the lineup, I think the Bills are the much better team and should be able to play very well against this Miami defense, which has kind of underperformed the past few weeks. Next up, you have the Las Vegas Raiders, who are 2-6, taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, who are 3-5. The Raiders are coming off of a loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Cincinnati Bengals are coming off of a loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. Both teams coming off of losses. Both teams have really been struggling on defense this season, but I am going to pick the Bengals to get the win here, just because I think that their offense is far better than the Raiders. They have a very good quarterback in Joe Burrow, a very good wide receiver tandem in Jamar Chase and T. Higgins when he's healthy. Two pretty good running backs in Chase Brown and Zach Moss, and that's just stuff that the Raiders offense doesn't really have with Gardner Minshew at quarterback and no true number one wide receiver. Right now, the closest they have is Jacoby Myers. I guess their rookie tight end Brock Bowers is kind of their number one go-to pass catcher. And at running back, they don't have a true number one running back. And Zamir White, who was supposed to be that guy going into the season, has really underperformed, and Alexander Madison has kind of been getting the majority of the snaps and has played well, but not great. So I do think that the Cincinnati Bengals, off of the strength of their offense, get the win here against the Raiders. Next up, you have the Los Angeles Chargers, who are 4-3, taking on the Cleveland Browns, who are 2-6. The Chargers are coming off of a win over the New Orleans Saints, and the Browns are coming off of a very surprising victory over the Baltimore Ravens. For the Browns, Jameis Winston got the start in this game. It's his first start of the season because obviously Deshaun Watson went down with an Achilles injury the week prior, and in his first start, he had over 300 yards and he had 3 touchdowns, which is something that Deshaun Watson hadn't done his entire time in Cleveland. Defense played very well against the Ravens, and obviously their offense performed better than it had all season. The Chargers play a very similar style to the Baltimore Ravens, in which they like to try and run the ball and try to play good defense. But I do think the Cleveland Browns are going to get the win here. I think that offensively they should continue to look very good, even though the Chargers have good defense. And defensively, they should be able to kind of slow down J.K. Dobbins, Justin Herbert in that offense. So in what might be considered a surprising pick, I am going to take the Cleveland Browns to beat the Chargers and get their second win in a row. Next up, you have the New England Patriots, who are 2-6, taking on the Tennessee Titans, who are 1-6. The Patriots are coming off a victory over the New York Jets, and the Tennessee Titans are coming off of just getting absolutely destroyed by the Detroit Lions. This game is probably going to be a very ugly game, maybe a very low-scoring game. Because honestly, don't know how much you can trust either one of these offenses. But I am going to pick the Patriots to win here. Because Drake May, if he plays, he did go out last week with a concussion in the Jets game. But even in relief of him, Jacoby Brissett has played the best he had all season. So I think whoever starts a quarterback for the New England Patriots should be able to kind of manage the game well enough to so that hopefully the run game can get something going and they can, kind of squeak out a very close, possibly very ugly victory to the Tennessee Titans. Next up, you have the Washington Commanders, who are 6-2, taking on the New York Giants, who are 2-6. The Commanders coming off of a last-second Hail Mary victory over the Chicago Bears, which that last-second Hail Mary was the only touchdown they scored in the game, but it was the game-winning touchdown. And the New York Giants are coming off of a loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday Night Football. I am going to pick the Commanders in this game. Offensively, Jaden Daniels continues to look very good. Their run game, I think, will perform very well against this Giants defense, which gave up a lot of rushing yards to the Steelers. Defensively, the Commanders look to be getting better every single week. I don't think that the Giants can really keep up with them. So I do think that the Commanders get the win here and sweep their season series with the New York Giants. Next up, you have the New Orleans Saints, who are 2-6, taking on the Carolina Panthers, who are 1-7. The Saints coming off a loss to the Los Angeles Chargers. It was their 6th loss in a row after starting the season 2-0. And the Carolina Panthers coming off a loss to the Denver Broncos, in which Bryce Young got to start in that game, and he didn't look terrible. He had a couple touchdowns, but he also had some interceptions. The Panthers actually just recently traded their number one wide receiver, Devontae Johnson, to the Baltimore Ravens. So I don't know what the Panthers are going to look like offensively. Defensively, they have not performed well. So this is another game that could possibly be a very ugly game, but I think that the Saints get the win here, mainly due to their run game with Alvin Kamara and his versatility to be both, a runner and what he can do as a receiver out of the backfield. And I think their defense should perform very well against this Panthers offense, especially with no more Devontae Johnson on their first-round pick. Xavier Legette left the game with an injury against the Broncos. So you don't really know what this offense is really going to look like. So I do think that the Saints will get the win. Next up, you have the Denver Broncos, who are 5-3, taking on the Baltimore Ravens, who are also 5-3. The Broncos coming off their win over Carolina, and the Ravens coming off their loss to the Cleveland Browns. I think that I'm going to pick the Ravens for this game. As good as the Broncos have looked the past few weeks, I just don't think that they're really good enough to go toe-to-toe with a team like the Ravens right now. I think the Ravens should hopefully be able to get Derrick Henry the ball more than they did against Cleveland, and kind of run the style of offense they did when they were blowing out teams like the Bills and the Cowboys, and just run the ball, let Lamar Jackson use the run to set up passes for Lamar Jackson, and I think that they can get the win here against Denver. Next up, you have the Chicago Bears, who are 4-3, taking on the Arizona Cardinals, who are 4-4. The Bears coming off that devastating loss to the Commanders, where they were the losing team on the last-second Hail Mary, and then the Arizona Cardinals, who managed to get a comeback victory against the Miami Dolphins this past week. My pick for this game is going to be Chicago. It's good. The Cardinals have kind of been very inconsistent. Their wins have all been comeback victories that haven't really been very dominant in their wins. And I think that the Bears defense is going to play very well against the Chicago's offense. And hopefully this Chicago offense can figure something out, because they did not look in sync against the Washington Commanders, and for some reason they got down near the goal line and handed the ball to one of their backup offensive linemen, who then fumbled, and the Commanders recovered. So hopefully they figure out that to get into the goal line and they want to run the ball, don't hand it to an offensive lineman, give it to a running back. But I think just because of how good their defense is and can be, and how talented their offense should be able to be, I am going to pick the Chicago Bears. Next up, you have the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 2-6, taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, who are 5-2. The Jaguars are going to be without two of their receivers for a while. Their receiver Christian Kirk broke his collarbone. He's out for the season, and their rookie Brian Thomas is dealing with some sort of injury and is going to miss a few weeks. And you have the Philadelphia Eagles. Jaguars coming off a loss to the Green Bay Packers. Philadelphia Eagles coming off a victory over the Cincinnati Bengals. My pick for this game is going to be the Eagles. Even healthy, I don't think the Jaguars can match up with this Eagles team. Just this offense looks to be clicking with Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Hurts. Like everything seems to kind of be clicking now that the season's been going along. Defensively, they're not the best, but the Jaguars have very little options to go to in the receiving game, and they still have a problem with turnovers. I do think that the Eagles get the win here. Next up, you have the Detroit Lions, who are 6-1, taking on the Green Bay Packers, who are 6-2. The Lions coming off of an absolute dominant showcase over the Tennessee Titans, and the Green Bay Packers coming off of a last-second field goal to win the game over the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Lions and the Titans game kind of showed that they can beat you pretty much any way they want. Jared Goff had, I believe, less than 100 yards passing. The team still put up 52 points. Their run game was very good. Their special teams are very good. Just they look like the most well-rounded team in the NFL right now. And for that reason, I am going to pick the Lions to get the victory. The Packers are a little bit banged up. Jordan Love left the game against the Jaguars with a groin injury. He does look to be okay. It does look like he could possibly play on Sunday. But I just think at this point in time, the Detroit Lions are the better team and will get the win. Next up, you have the Los Angeles Rams, who are 3-4, taking on the Seattle Seahawks, who are 4-4. The Rams coming off a victory over the Minnesota Vikings, and the Seattle Seahawks coming off of the loss to the Buffalo Bills, in which was a point in time, it was early in the game, Seattle Seahawks defenders and teammates were fighting with each other because they were just getting so frustrated with the Bills. Now, the Rams looked very good against the Vikings with a healthy Puka Nacua and a healthy Cooper Kupp. Their offense looked very good. Kyren Williams didn't have to do everything himself. Their defensive pass rush looked very good against the Vikings. So I am actually going to pick the Rams to get the win here. So I think offensively, now that they are fully healthy, they're going to be able to put up points. They're going to be able to play well. Matthew Stafford should hopefully be, back to being able to play to very good form. And defensively, I think they're going to be able to get some pressure on Geno Smith because this Seattle Seahawks offensive line is still not the best. They still give up a lot of pressures. So I do think that the Los Angeles Rams get the win here. Excuse me. Next up, you have the Sunday night football game between the Indianapolis Colts, who are 4-4, taking on the Minnesota Vikings, who are 5-2. The Colts coming off of a loss to the Houston Texans. The Minnesota Vikings coming off of their loss to the Los Angeles Rams. The Colts have actually made the decision to bench Anthony Richardson for Joe Flacco. So I think that decision will actually make this a much closer game. I am still going to pick the Minnesota Vikings in this game. But with Joe Flacco in I think that offensively the Colts should perform very well. Both of these teams have very talented offenses and have some trouble on defense. For the Colts, their trouble on defense has really been just defending the pass, which doesn't bode well when you're playing one of the top receivers in the NFL, in Justin Jefferson. And for the Minnesota Vikings, they were not able to really generate pressure on the quarterback when they played the Rams. So if they aren't able to do that against the Colts, I think Joe Flacco is going to be able to kind of stand in the pocket, stay composed, and just kind of pick them apart. You know. So I do think this will be a very close game, a very offensive game. Both offenses should play very well in this game, but I am going to pick the Vikings to get the win. Now, final game of the week, the Monday Night Football game. You have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are 4-4, taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, who are 7-0. The Buccaneers, they're super beat up offensively. Obviously, no Chris Godwin for the rest of the season. Still not going to have Mike Evans for this game. Buccaneers coming off of a loss to the Atlanta Falcons. Chiefs coming off of a victory over the Raiders. The Buccaneers still put up a very good fight against the Falcons, but ultimately fell short. Baker Mayfield turned the ball over a little bit. And the Kansas City Chiefs just kind of winning like they have been the whole season of not doing anything too flashy, but just not making mistakes and just playing good defense and run the football. So, for pretty much the same reasons, I think they get the win here against the Buccaneers. There's a possibility the Chiefs could have Isaiah Pacheco back for this game after he suffered his leg injury back in week 2. But even without him, Kareem Hunt has been playing very well in the run game. So I do think that in part due to the Buccaneers' lack of offensive weapons and due to the Chiefs still having very good defense and being able to kind of run the ball and kind of, just play mistake-free football, and Patrick Mahomes kind of playing like a game manager, I do think that the Kansas City Chiefs will get the victory here. Let me know in the comments who you guys think are going to win these games. Let me know, maybe the game you're most looking forward to. For me, it is honestly the games between the Lions and Packers and the Rams and the Seahawks. I think those are going to be very good games. I'm very excited to see what the Lions can do against the Packers, or if the Packers can, shock the Lions and take the lead in this division. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, see ya.